Okay, so this is going to be a fun little topic today for us because we're going to talk about a little bit of conspiracy theory stuff. So, specifically including AI and some of the powers it has and what it can potentially be. Now, we work in marketing and we use AI and have been using AI. You know, I really don't like the term AI. It really freaks me out. I didn't even realize that we were doing stuff with AI until a couple of years ago. I'm like, wait a second. You mean we do AI? That's what this is? I thought it was just automations and stuff and like language models. And I didn't realize that's what AI was until they started talking back and getting flippy with us.
What does AI have to do with conspiracy theories?
Oh, it has everything to do with conspiracy theories. Well, yeah, just look at some of the things that have been going on in the last 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Look at some of the big companies, the amount of information they're collecting about everybody, and the way they can use that information to sway opinion. Now, working in marketing, we know how people's opinions can be swayed. Now, we're pretty ethical guys. We would never, sway people down the wrong path. But if we in our company can use AI to help, uh, I don't want to say change people's minds, but bring things to light in their mind, then think of what some of the big companies can and almost certainly are doing.
It sounds like your belief that they have all this data and they're manipulating people kind of is a conspiracy theory. Like that pretty much meets the definition of a conspiracy theory. Some secret group of
Oh, they're
people with
definitely
cabal
conspiring.
controlling,
Mhm.
the masses without any hard substantiated evidence.
Well, whenever you have a large group of people that get together with some kind of idea and then they conspire to bring that idea into fruition, then yes, you have a
I thought it was a
conspiracy.
small group of people.
It's not really a small group of people, is it? It's actually a lot of people all working on this. Yeah. Well, but look at the big companies. Look at each of the big
Wait a
companies.
sec. So if it's a large group of people, does it meet the definition of a conspiracy theory?
I think so, yeah, because they're all conspiring. As long as they all conspire, it's a
I feel like
conspiracy.
it's very relative. Are we talking 10% of the population is in on this? Are we talking 1%?
Mm. Well, what exactly is the conspiracy theory we're talking about here?
That all these companies that control the AI and have all of our data and personal likes and wants and needs and desires would somehow use that to influence us and manipulate us in certain ways to influence opinion.
Oh,
The
well, yeah,
question is, has that ever happened in our society? And there's been many of examples of that. Just think of any of the election things where it's like, oh, this search engine promoted Hillary Clinton. This one promoted that. Facebook promotes this or doesn't allow that during election season. So obviously there is some control going on there. The question is, where
propaganda.
else are they using that?
Propaganda is a time-honored tradition around the world. Now, here in the United States, we like to pretend that propaganda is something that just went on overseas and stuff. We don't engage in propaganda in this country, except we definitely engage in propaganda in this country. You can see the way the media news cycles over the last 10 years, they're drastically different. I mean,
Well, if World War II, if you actually go back and look at any of the stuff promoting World War II, all
it's
propaganda to,
all
yeah,
it's there's an entire art movement around the propaganda of the United States from World War II. All those pinup
yeah,
posters and stuff, everything about people doing their part, and oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yep, everybody's got to pitch in. We're all in this together, and so propaganda is not a conspiracy. It's something we acknowledge exists and happens. We just don't like to acknowledge it as existing here in the United States. Mostly because we spend most of our time laughing at the media. It's not worth pretending that's propaganda. But you have people like Rachel Maddow and Joy Reid. You can't take them serious. You literally can't watch them and take them serious. That can't be propaganda if you can't take the people serious. In
Well, it's
fact,
like this the saying that I heard, or so I think somebody posted on LinkedIn, a Chinese person was saying the difference between the US and China is that in China we know it's propaganda. The problem is many people believe that stuff, Chuck.
yeah, that's true. That's well, I don't know
Let's-
what. Hmm.
All right, so let's go down this idea. So there was a study published, and I'll share it here. Where's my share button? Stating that AI is not the conspirator. AI is the solution to conspiracy theories.
And how is that the solution? Oh,
Can you see my screen? So this study shows that by taking people that have conspiracy theories, and I read through the study and it's a little weird how they define it. So I'll give you a quick background. So what they did is they asked people some questions and they have a defined definition. It's in the literature and I couldn't actually find it in a study, which was annoying. But apparently there is an acceptable if I ask you 10 questions and how you answer those questions, this falls into the category of a conspiracy, then you have a conspiracy theory. So they didn't go seek people out that said, "Hey, do you believe in lizard people?" It wasn't like that. They just asked people a bunch of questions. Their answers, like COVID was created in a lab, met their criteria for conspiracy theory, and they said, "Okay, cool. Let's have this person engage with AI and see if it changes their opinion of the conspiracy." So, and the results were it did. They also had it do some fact checking where it found that AI was 99.2% accurate compared to human fact checkers, but none were false. So only 0.8% were misled. So, their claim is that AI is actually helping us reduce conspiracy theories. And I thought this was an interesting concept, one, because they didn't tell me what the conspiracy theories were.
Look down in
So
results. There's a mix. Go down to results. Scroll down a little bit. I saw some up, just some up, just a little. No, that's actually down. That's actually down. Up is the other way. Up, there. See in that section of results, they're talking about the JFK assassination, aliens.
yeah, Illuminati,
But yeah,
COVID-19.
so,
Yes.
so okay, I can write off the bat. Well, I don't know. Do you want to keep talking before I go ahead and shred this joke of a research paper?
Treatment reduced prisoners belief in the choosing conspiracy by 20% on average. Uh, Notably, the AI did not reduce belief in true conspiracies. How did see? And this is the problem with the paper. It doesn't tell me how it determined a true conspiracy versus
Exactly.
a real conspiracy theory. Like
The
it
assassination of JFK, we know something funky went down there. Aliens, yeah. Come on, man. Don't tell me that everything that's been going on in Congress, all of those things from Congress with the UAPs, don't tell me ain't something funky going on right there. And then as far as the Illuminati,
sounds
yeah,
like you need to
it's
talk to AI more, Chuck.
do I?
It sounds like you need to talk to AI more. It
I
would help.
probably talk to
It would
AI
help
too
cure you.
much. You will cure me of my wrong thinking. Will cure me of my ignorance.
It will cure you. So anyway, I got super curious. I'm like, well, what does AI tell us about um, conspiracy theories? So I just asked it. And I'll just walk you through this fun conversation that I had. What are the most common conspiracy theories of the last decade? Simple question, right? 2015 to 2025. Some of them I've heard of, some of them not. Like I honestly don't know much about QAnon. I really don't stay up on the news that much because it's
Interesting.
depressing and doesn't really add to my life. COVID-19, the virus engineered in a lab as a bioweapon. Again, I don't really keep up with news, but I feel like I heard that they did research and found that it was likely that it was engineered in a lab.
Yeah.
So I was a little confused when this one came up. The Great Reset. So this here it says yes, there is a Great Reset, but it was spun into a narrative suggesting that elites plan to use the pandemic to implement totalitarian control over population. Yeah, that totally didn't happen. Jeffrey Epstein, subsequent death. Many suspect of foul play. Murder,
Oh,
protect, powerful. Interesting. Like, I don't know a lot about his story. Again, I don't really look into these things, but wasn't he part of trafficking rings or not? Like, was that,
it's actually
didn't he
part of
have like,
You see, here's the fun. Do you want to talk some conspiracy theories? Number one is all about QAnon and their belief that there were these elites that were trafficking children all over everywhere. And everybody was like,
okay,
no, they're all nuts. If you believe in that stuff, you're nuts. But at the same time, they were busy arresting Jeffrey Epstein, who was like this guy who was an elite who had all these other elites. He was,
connected to everybody?
oh, yeah, with the underage kids and stuff like that. So,
Right.
yeah, they're real. That's all real.
Election fraud. Yeah, that might take us a whole different 5G. I have heard this one. I don't know anything about it. I assume this is a legitimate conspiracy theory. I don't know. Flat Earth. I'm not one to believe in the flat Earth, although I did look into it
That's
one day because it
that's
was
crazy. I hadn't heard that either. Well,
kind of
yeah, that's because the Earth
entertaining.
is flat. I mean,
This doesn't seem like a conspiracy. This seems like an explanation for a conspiracy theory to me, but whatever.
oh, that's because of the legalization of marijuana so many places. That's what.
No, UFOs, all right. Deep state. Secret, unlike the group controls world governments behind the scenes. So I'm just going to throw this out there as a question.
Well,
Who was running the Biden administration when he was seeing doctors regularly for Alzheimer's?
oh, it was the same group of wealthy people that were running the Bush administration.
Yeah, so that's totally a conspiracy theory. Um,
Well,
AI
no,
technological
you
control
can actually
being
look at
developed to enslave humanity,
politics.
manipulate thoughts.
And of
So
course,
the,
Liz Cheney, that's kind of like the smoking gun right there of that whole theory. I mean,
I don't know anything about Liz Cheney. So
oh,
replace human leaders with deep
I can say
fakes and clones. So that is interesting. I feel like I watched a movie about that. I don't think it was fact based. I'm not entirely sure though. Um, this gets back
well,
to what you said, Chuck. Like they're using AI to enslave humanity, manipulate thoughts, blah blah. This new piece is interesting. I hadn't heard that one. Climate change hoaxes. China is either entirely fake or exaggerated as a means of government corporations to implement global controls through carbon taxes and regulations. Okay, so this is just a fact. Like I don't think anybody's debating that second part. Means for governments and corporations to implement global control through carbon taxes and regulations. It's exactly what ESG is all about. It's exactly what carbon. So I don't know
Isn't
about this first part. It's entirely
isn't that
fake, but is this
isn't
not a
that how
fact?
Isn't that how Tesla became the money making system it is? It's basically just selling all of its carbon
Selling
credits.
its carbon credits. Like there's entirely separate economy based
for
on selling carbon, reducing carbon, and so on. So I'm a little bit confused on that one. We'll get into it a little bit. Celebrity, I don't care about celebrities. Do whatever you want. Chinese surveillance. I mean, yeah, China would never steal data
Andachrome.
and
I want to get a hold of
surveil.
this Andachrome. Why don't you want to talk about the Andachrome that'll make me live forever? Are you
I
trying to
just,
hide that?
I just don't. AI will soon take over jobs, control and possibly develop sentience. Okay, so we addressed the last one. AI will not develop sentience. However, it's a very convenient. So that's in our book, Soulless Intelligence, where we point out this is absolutely never going to happen. But it is a very convenient conspiracy theory that I think is seeded by the people who control that AI because when they dictate to it what it should do, and it doesn't necessarily end up being positive, they can say, "Sorry, it woke up, sentience, sentience, guys." Um, so that one's totally not true in that sense. But will it take over? Yeah, obviously going to take over jobs. How is that a conspiracy theory?
That's why we're building it.
Like it already has.
Do you
That
think?
doesn't even make sense to me. Control the internet. What part of the internet is not already controlled by AI? Now, it might mean in a sentient fashion. Okay, totally agree. It's not in a sentient fashion being controlled. Um, but
Really sure I
every
understand what control the internet means because I can't control what you're posting. Oh, they could control.
they control what you see on YouTube. They control what shows up in your social feed. They control what products you see on Amazon, like what you watch on Netflix. Like AI is controlling all of that. What do you listen to on Spotify? They're not all connected as to one megalithic, yeah, overlord system. Like, uh, what's the one from Terminator? Why don't I just forget the name? Anyway, so that was all fine and interesting, and I didn't really have the time to go through each of those. But I would just ask some basic questions. I did just say, wait a sec, why didn't you include the conspiracy theory about Donald Trump conspired with Russia to win the 2016 election? Because I do recall we spent something like $50 million investigating this, had 30 some or
Well,
50,
yeah.
I can't remember, 30 to 50, people
Well,
investigated
plus
this
what we paid
for
the
multiple
AP
years.
Politico to advertise those and pretend they were real stories. I mean, there was a lot of government money spent. That's what Doge is all about. I think
Well,
there's
anyway, let's, Doge, that sounds like a conspiracy. Um, so I just asked him, let's walk through here. So it found, yeah, that there was basically with no connections during investigation, no connections. Many people, critics view, despite the absence of prosecutable evidence, the numerous contacts, blah, 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 as well as they seem favorable to us to suggest at least a willingness to collaborate. It's like, I took that comment, I'm like, this sounds like the definition of a conspiracy theory. And it's like, you're right. It did, and it basically agreed with me. Say if we apply the same standard, Trump-Russia collusion narrative would qualify as a conspiracy theory too, since there's no hard proof of any conspiracy. I mean, they did all of the. I guarantee they spent more money investigating that than any of those others combined up there, and determined, yeah, that didn't actually happen. And that was moved. And I said, why didn't you include it? And it's like, oh yeah, good point. I'm including it now. No, I don't know. You guys can go on your own GPTs and ask the same question and see, is it now including? Of course, it's not. It's not part of the thing. Then I asked about the virus was engineered in the lab as a bioweapon. Uh, and it's like, yeah, good point. And it started some articles like, yeah, that isn't really a bio. It is a leading theory. That's no longer a conspiracy theory. And it says, yeah, because it's normally no supporting evidence. But now that we have pretty good evidence that it was created in a lab, this is now a legitimate hypothesis or even a fact. Like, and they put out all the research that says, yeah, it seems highly likely it's done in a lab. Correction. Now it reworded it to the lab theory and removed the idea that it was created in a lab as being a conspiracy. What's the point here? Oh yeah, and then finally, just to get to. So based on the number of articles promoting the conspiracy on major news sources before it was disproven, which is the biggest theory of the last decade from that list? I thought about it. QAnon is
Well,
a huge one. Media attention, although I don't know too much about it, so that's interesting. I guess I really do avoid the media. Uh,
well, QAnon was pretty much proven. I mean, that
Ultimately, it decided that the Trump-Russia collusion theory was the biggest to occur in the last decade, yet it completely ignored it in its original list. So I just have to ask, how is AI disproving conspiracy theories and helping people realize the truth? I'm totally missing that.
here's why I still calling the whole QAnon thing a conspiracy and the Jeffrey Epstein thing, because that's what that is. That's literally, he was the guy who was trafficking the kids. I mean, and there were some over 18, but he was definitely doing some major trafficking with a lot of elites. And hopefully that list will be out soon.
And
Well,
we can ask about that one. I don't know much about that one. I feel like there's some tie into some rappers too. I
oh,
don't know
that's
who.
Diddy stuff, which
Yeah, is that related to
is
Jeffrey
just
Epstein
disturbing.
working
No,
together?
it's actually a whole separate freak system. That's
Oh, okay. Well,
that's a whole other, yeah.
I guess that one wasn't big enough to make our list of
I
conspiracies.
caught an infographics on that, which if you've never caught the infographics channel on YouTube, it's kind of fun. Although,
So, is it fair to say that based on just some basic information here that we just looked up, is AI itself a conspiracy? Like, what is going on here?
you
I
mean,
think the reason that we're addressing this question and why it's relevant to our research about the ethics and the morality of AI is truth is not defined by some super intelligent system. Truth is defined by frequency and whoever is fine tuning the data. So somebody sitting at these companies is fine tuning this information. And when Trump Russia collusion comes up, it's like, oh yeah, that's not a conspiracy. And they're ignoring it. But then it's promoting these other things. Like, I mean, the irony of it is if I'm a big company that's controlling the data that's training AI, and I'm somehow connected to Jeffrey Epstein, yeah, I would have an incentive to hire people
you
that
downplay it and to
say that
hide.
that is a conspiracy. And honestly, I don't know that much. You know more about it than I do, Chuck. How much of that would be conspiracy or not? My point is simply, it's an interesting concept to assume that we can trust, well, anybody, like, period.
Yeah. Well,
And AI is the result of humans determining what is appropriate, what is reasonable, what is acceptable, and even what is a conspiracy or not.
so
And
think about it this way. We grew up in a different world than today. Okay. So think about Eric just had a child. That child was born in the age of AI. The life he's going to live is going to be dramatically different from mine or yours or Greg's. It's all going to be different. So they're going to start as little bitty kids now being talked to with AI, or AI is going to drive their life forward. So this is the time. And if you want to talk about things that are important, it's teaching these children as they grow up. And I worry for this current generation because I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm a little worried about the current
I
generation.
think Gen Z has already had it happen. And I'll give you an example. Uh, when my son, my oldest, is now 9, when he was 3, mom had to run into Walmart and get something. So we're sitting in the car waiting. He's getting antsy. And so I decided to try to do an experiment because, that's what you do with your kids, right? I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, well, you can have a lollipop or you can watch YouTube. What do you want? Fully expecting he's going to obviously go with the lollipop. He doesn't. He chooses YouTube. He gives up the sugar high to watch YouTube. Now, we didn't watch YouTube at home. We don't have any tablets. It was just every once in a while we go to the store, go to Walmart, whatever. I let him watch some Thomas
Well,
the
you're
Train or whatever things on YouTube, and I was blown away. And so none of my younger kids have ever been allowed, at least for me. There's always other family members that may get involved, um, to watch YouTube because the AI in those systems are so powerful to recommend things that the kids who have undeveloped brains, I mean, your prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed to your mid 20s, to get them to watch whatever they want to maximize engagement, right? So
right.
to say, hey, the new generation, I think this whole Gen Z, Z, yeah,
Yeah.
is
Gen
already anybody that grew up with social media and YouTube, TikTok, these things is already being dramatically manipulated by
Oh
AI.
yeah, definitely affected. Well, we have a phone tablet generation now. I mean, the kids that are in school today, they grew up with the tablets in their hands. And that definitely has made a huge impact on them. It's weird because a lot of parents have used technology as a babysitter, which is just
Uh,
breaks my heart. It totally breaks my heart. Now we
so
raised our
many.
daughter on a computer. She was pecking on a keyboard at age 3, but we were always with her doing stuff with her. I mean, we got her all the games and stuff like Pajama Sam and all the Reader Rabbit stuff, but we didn't sit her at the computer and then walk away and do our thing. We sat at the computer with her and we went through Pajama Sam and all the reading stuff. And it was a group activity, just like when we sat down and played with Legos or just like when we did other things together. And I think that's where this current generation, we're missing that part. I think a lot of people are using the tech to babysit their kids and they're not really being the
It's
parents.
It's slightly worse than that. The next time you go out to a restaurant, Chuck, and you see a family there, and you'll see the kids on their tablets, which have all the
Yeah.
bumpers on them because they have them constantly. What will you see the parents doing? They won't be talking. They
Oh,
will also be addicted to their screens on their social media feeds, buying stuff online, like all the e-commerce stuff is AI driven to recommend you what's the thing you want to buy, what's the next thing, oh, add this to your cart, whatever, right? It's they're they're having AI and technology babysit their kids because they themselves are addicted to the technologies.
right. That's what they need to do at their own time. It's an endorphin release. They got to
It
find another way
is.
to get that drug, man.
Yeah,
You can go for a
absolutely.
walk and watch the sunrise or something.
All right, so the question then becomes, do we just is AI the devil, basically? And I'm using that metaphorically,
Can
although I
be.
do hear some people that think it's more literal. And should we avoid it? And so I'll point this out. Like, we're not going to go into this one here, but the elites are using AI to destroy the human spirit. So, like, this is a thing. There's a lot of people. I just watched this video, and so she's basically saying, and I don't know too much about her, but in this particular video, she avoids AI. She has an actual human assistant, and her assistant uses AI, but she personally won't. And essentially, by using AI, we're losing the ability to create, we're using the ability to write, we're using the ability to understand and appreciate art and things along these lines. And so that you're better off just avoiding it completely than to give into it. And it's essentially because the AI, all the people that control the AIs, all these big corporations and governments they conspire with, um, are just using it to make money. And so they'll do whatever they have to. They'll get you addicted to whatever they want to, whatever they need to keep getting more money from you. And so by giving into it, you are now part of the system. You're part of the problem. You need to just disconnect and stay separate.
I mean, if you're weak of spirit, sure.
If she believes that, why is she on the internet?
Why is she
If she
on?
believes, why
That's
does she spend? Why
yeah.
does why does she watch the news? Why does she go to schools? Why does she like? Literally, it's the same thing. This is just another step along the path. Like
Well,
they're all
maybe in
doing
her
great.
mind, it's generative AI is different than
We've taught people they're
AI
weak. That's the
algorithms. I don't
problem.
know.
We've taught people that, oh, if you get tempted, well, that's it. You've been tempted. You're going to break down. And people just expect to break down when they get tempted with something.
Right.
It's like this global peer pressure to just do the wrong thing every time you turn around on something.
Like your husband, the husband cheats on the wife, and it's the woman's fault that he cheated with, right? Like,
Right?
oh,
There's
you're
some weird
seductress.
thoughts going on, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
people
and
got their
that's like,
priorities a little mixed up because they want the drama. They need the endorphin rush because, the AI and the phones aren't quite kicking it. It's keeping the endorphins going, but that's not really what they want. They need that emotion.
so Chuck, I'm
Oh,
curious
yeah.
on this and your feedback. So the way that I see it, and I don't know if this is entirely accurate. I mean, we have written a best-selling book on it, but that doesn't mean we don't have plenty to learn. Um, my son yesterday came home from school and he learned in school about writing opinion articles. He's third grade. So he's writing, and so he got all excited, like, I want to write an opinion article about my favorite movie, and I want to write an opinion article about my favorite cartoonist. So I did one, Charles Schultz and Peanuts and whatever. And it's like, okay. He's like, I was like, go ahead, you can write. He's like, well, can I type it? Because I learned how to use the computer a little, at school. I'm like, okay. So I just opened up Google Doc for him and he went and wrote it. And he came back to me I don't know, 20 minutes later, whatever it was. And then we printed it out and he told us, he was super excited about it. Then he wrote another opinion article. And so wasn't on the internet, wasn't on, but he was using technology in a very confined space in use. Um, and I think at some point when it gets to, why you're not on YouTube or why we don't play video games, he already knows that we don't play video games because I care about his brain. We don't get on YouTube because we want to make your brain healthy. You go to bed on time because it's your brain's important. And and the 9-year-old is aware enough to know like your brain matters. It's important. Like this is something that helps you in school, helps you in life. If you build a strong, healthy brain, you're going to be better off. And so he's even said to me one time, I'm glad we don't have video games. I want a healthy brain. I want a strong brain. Now, I may be over sensationalizing it a bit, but you got to keep it at a 9-year-old's level, an 8-year-old's level. Um, and so that's my take on it, that technology is an amazing and wonderful and powerful tool. Just like I have a hammer, and you can use a hammer to build stuff, and you use a hammer to destroy stuff,
Mhm.
right? That is a form of technology. Um, and so using it properly is useful and beneficial and important. And if you don't use it properly, like if I was the guy that never used a hammer and was trying to build stuff with just my hands without tools, your family lineage is not going to be around long. You're not going to have, great longevity in that family. So that's my take on it, that you have to be very, very specific in which use cases and when you give kids access to technology. I hate schools that give kids computers to work off of, give them a hard book, give them something physical, and so on. I do have a Kindle, but it's the paper white, and my kids will use it, but they'll use it to draw.
Oh yeah.
And it's black and white. I think you get some shades of gray, and that's all they're doing is they're just drawing on it. And I'm like, well, it's paper white. There's not the blue light or whatever. They can't go get on YouTube. They're obviously not going to read my books. um, so it seems pretty safe. What are your thoughts on that? Is there a balance here?
Well, you're talking about the drawing and stuff. When my kid, mind you, she's like 25 or 26 or something right now. She's mid 20s. When she was little, I had an iPad. It was like an early handheld
Oh yeah,
thing.
HP iPad,
Yeah,
not the
yeah, they
iPad
were
Air.
high. They were nice, man. I love the little iPad, dude. I got it sitting around here somewhere. But it had the little stylus with the touchscreen and it had a drawing app on it. And I used to sit there with her and she would draw these little, I've got them, dude. They're just like kids do with crayon and stuff. And she wrote little messages and then I drew on them too. And dude, I'm telling you, that stuff in 15, 20
That's
years, you look back and you'll be like, oh, what a great memory. But
it's just
yeah,
That's a sea
You,
monster. I think
that's a
that's
sea
the mommy
monster. I thought it
monster.
was a face, dude. I thought there were gonna be flowers. Don't
I
tell
don't
me
know what that is. I don't remember.
it's
It's a
amazing
psychological
though,
test. What is that, Chuck?
and it will stick. It's huh.
It's a
I don't.
horse
I
blat.
think
Is that how you say it?
it's an ostrich having a really bad day.
Has anyone ever given AI that test
The
and
horse
see what it
blat
comes up
test or
with?
whatever it's
A
called.
roar?
Yeah,
No, I don't, Greg. I don't know. I don't know. Let's
That's a
do
good
that.
question.
Let's
We
do
should
that.
totally
I
do
want to do
that.
that. Let's do that, Greg. Let's give it a Rorschach
that'd be
test.
amazing.
That'll be our next
That needs to be
discussion.
our thing. That's our thing right there. I
Get
got.
the pictures. We'll upload them and we'll record
We smoke.
the
That's passion.
discussion.
That's right.
So I guess I was a little misleading when I
Wow.
said I don't have tablets. I think that's maybe considered a tablet, the Kindle e-reader, or at least don't give our kids access to it. But that's it. That's the extent of their usage of it. And instead, you know what they do? They go play. Honestly, they get hurt a lot.
Well,
They're
not
always
only.
like smacking
Okay,
each other and tackling each other and tripping each other and oh,
these
it's
are awesome, aren't they? Well, see, I think that's the difference. If you love kids, if you love your kids, I think you want to spend time with them and do things with them. But when you're stuck in your own world and you lock yourself into something, and I don't think people even realize they're doing it or even know why they're doing it. They're just chasing that endorphin rush. And it's because people, they don't have goals. They don't have objectives.
they don't have meaning is the bigger
they're not
problem.
loving what they're doing.
I think they don't have meaning. Like, what's your purpose? Right?
Hmm.
If you don't have meaning in your life, if you don't have a purpose in your life, then what's the difference if I think it
And
was
that's
Daniel
what they're
Dennett that
searching
said,
for is meaning.
you know, might as well drink.
So I kind of find it ironic that three guys who basically sit in front of a computer most of our days and lives are like, nope, kids shouldn't be on the internet.
Well,
Because I'm pretty sure we all grew up with tech. Also grew up with
yeah, I
being outside playing and stuff. So tech isn't the problem. Tech isn't the solution. Tech is just a
know it's
tool
the
to use. So
parenting.
I think So I think if the kid has good parenting or has good guidance or good whatever, there's no problem playing a video game. There's no problem going and watching a YouTube video or drawing on it or whatever. It's just
Depends on the
to the
video game.
extent
I don't
they
want my 5-year-old doing Grand Theft Auto and assaulting women. Like, that's
Okay, so
that's
maybe
true, but
I
that's
did
what the
take my
guidance is.
daughter
That's
to
what I
play
was referring
Unreal
to.
Tournament young. Okay, my daughter and I have been playing Unreal Tournament forever. We haven't played in probably a year, but that's what this room was actually for. Unreal Tournament and playing Age of Empires because we are both Age of Empires freaks. It's a great strategy game.
yep.
And
No, obviously
I
there. I think
crushed her for a long time. She
there's a
actually,
paradigm on the video games. It's more like if you start when you're 5 and you don't have a fully developed prefrontal cortex and you get addicted to the rush and the excitement of the game instead of the rush and the excitement of actually going outside and playing, right? I read a study, or at least the abstract of it, just yesterday, the day before, that showed that elite German soccer players, football players, uh, were more likely to have unstructured soccer. Like they played more unstructured soccer as kids than the good players that didn't become elite. But if kids are on devices and whatever else, or they're just in leagues all the time, because there's also that like money making
yeah.
thing, and let's get them to this league and that league and blah blah blah. Then there isn't much time for unstructured play. And I thought that was an interesting um, insight. I don't know how strong their research is and how that strong the correlation is, but it's that sort of thing that at some point, I think the current recommendations I've read, I don't remember where they were from, were that don't let your kids on social media till either 14 or 16 years of age.
Yeah, probably
And I
smart.
struggle with that from two perspectives. One is their brain still isn't fully developed and won't be for almost another decade. So is that really the endorphin rushes you want them to get? But the second is you probably can't entirely prevent it. And so this is where the authoritarian parenting of like, I'm going to try and ban all these things doesn't make sense. And you just have the conversation. Like, just so you know, this is what it does to your brain. This is why they do that. This is how the system works. You don't pay
No,
for
there's only one
social media
solution.
because you are the product. And you have the conversation and say, since you are the product, understand that their goal is to manipulate you into doing things, to clicking, to watching, to engaging, to buying, to whatever is necessary. And there's research out there. You don't have to trust me on that. There's the whole experiment from Facebook when they made a bunch of people sad by showing them sad information, right? Like that's
Yeah.
super ethical. There's
Well, yeah.
uh, so this stuff is not conspiracy in any degree. Like they have done this, they have tested this, they have shown this, and that's where I think you just have to trust your kid and say, hey, I can't stop you from doing these things. Like you're 16 years old, you're gonna make decisions, good or bad. I mean, if you're driving a car, literally life
Well,
changing decisions.
as far as
Um,
social media, I think we need to start teaching them very young one very, very important lesson. Not one thing you do on the internet, no matter how much you want to believe it, is not private. You
yeah.
are being watched. Someone is always watching you, and it might be me. So think about what you're doing online. If you wouldn't do it
Is
in
there a
front of
thing, Chuck,
if
if
you
you had a
wouldn't do it
picture
in
of
front of
somebody,
mommy and daddy, then you shouldn't be doing it alone on the internet because you're doing it in front of everybody else.
Chuck, is there a tool that if I had a picture of somebody, I could say, okay, where do they show up on the internet?
Um, yeah, there's a bunch of different face. You just want to look up a face?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if you had a picture of a face, like somebody applies for a job, right? So
Oh,
you're gonna apply for a job, it's a professional job, and they take a
me.
face and they're like, okay, where's this person on the internet? What have they done? And they show up
Yeah.
in, yeah,
Just the simplest,
questionable places.
easiest, almost non-technical way is just to use Google image search. You
I
can
haven't found it to
almost
be that reliable, but yeah, I guess that makes sense.
you can get close. If you want to get closer, there's definitely tools out there for it. And I know for a fact that
So
like
my point would be that would be the
NSA, FBI,
example,
CIA,
right? So you do
yeah.
something silly, your friend posted on social media, it's not even your account, you're at some party, but your face, comes up to doing this ridiculous thing and inappropriate or whatever. Um, and there you go. Now the job you wanted, the school you wanted to apply to and go to, you're just weeded out for one bad decision, which even when we were growing up, I know lots of kids that made bad decisions, didn't have problem getting jobs and going to college because nobody knew about them. Right?
Or you find out you really like this girl and you're going to go meet her mommy and daddy looks you up online and finds out, oh, no, I don't think
Or
you're going
vice
to be good with my
versa.
daughter.
Mommy looks you up
Or vice
online and
versa.
sees your profile and sees what you're, tramping around in and
So
uh
once once people figure out that there's nothing they do that's private, do you know how much I used to laugh about people going, use Bitcoin because it's private. Nobody will know what you're doing. And it's oh, dude, no, seriously, the blockchain, it's public. That you can
yes.
track everything's tracked. That's literally the point. You want to talk about some conspiracy propaganda stuff. It's
Tracked
stuff
more than
like that
USAID's
right there.
budgets, right? Or
Uh,
USAID's budget.
So I don't know. Once people figure out that everything they do online isn't private and it's always being watched, maybe we can teach our children to be more responsible online. Then again, I come from the days of
I
the early internet where literally Mr. T ate your balls was like the top web page. God, I miss those days. It was so
I
fun.
I think the problem with that, Chuck, because I think it makes sense. The problem would be,
Oh.
um, I don't think younger generations have any interest in or concern about privacy,
Hey,
right? So what happens in a world? Let's take kid who was born this
so
month,
the thing
right?
about
So we project the world out 20 years or 30 years, and all of us have made a bad decision at some point in our life, right? Nobody's not ever made a bad decision. And so now we're going to jobs, and the guy that's hiring me also has made bad decisions. And so is so you just have an entire society of all of your bad decisions are
no,
public.
that's
You can't
not even
not hire
really
anybody because
that's
we all have bad decisions and we all know
well,
about them. So, then what happens in the world?
think about it like this. A lot of people are chatting along online about things that aren't legal that they shouldn't be doing or that are ethically bad. Like married guy is chatting along with a married woman, but it's not themselves they're married to. Those things they're not private. The other spouses could almost certainly see that stuff and almost certainly will at some point. I mean, there's just no privacy. So, people, like I said, you really need to behave in front of your computer as if mommy and daddy were watching you the whole time because you are being watched and your actions will come back to you. Whatever you're looking at, whatever you're reading, if you think that you know how stupid some people are? They're so stupid they literally Google how to kill people and then they go and do that. Okay? That's how stupid some people in this world are. They don't even use it like an incognito browser. Not that that would help, because FYI, folks, that's another conspiracy theory. It's not really. It's not what those are for. They're more for getting rid of cookie. Oh, good gosh. It's
All right, so let's wrap this up on
yeah.
our conspiracy theory discussion, right?
Well,
So,
definitely lizard people. It's definitely.
um, the summary for me, the thing that I think people need to consider is the source of information, who fine tunes it, is what matters. Which means whichever conspiracy theories they approve or disapprove is probably what happens, gets through. It's the fine tuners of the data set. So if I ask that same question to Claude or Gemini, it's probably going to have a lot of overlap. I don't know if it'll have the exact same ones. We can do that test and see. Um, but it's not like it's a pure knowledge source that isn't influenced or biased in any way. And that's where I think people might go wrong. It's also not purely evil unless there's that new research I think Anthropic put out about how it can make it evil with messing with a few thousand words in there, the prompting, or in the fine tuning. I'm sorry. Uh, but as a general rule, it's not purely evil. It is a tool. You just need to be aware of what the tool can do, what it can't do, and making moral decisions is not what it does. I will say on AI's, the benefits of it is if I hit a conspiracy theory on MSNBC about the Trump Russia inclusion, I can throw something to the TV, but I can't actually get it corrected. But on AI, you kind of can. You just say, wait a second, I thought this was already discussed. Is there any counter information to this? Where does this come from? What's the evidence or like the lab connection to the COVID virus or any of these? If I really had an interest in these conspiracy theories, I would just go one by one and say, okay, well, what's the counterpoint to that? What's the evidence? Has there been any evidence? And that's the way you get to real information and real knowledge. And that doesn't matter if it's conspiracy theories, if it's what's the best way to fix my health, which by the way, 90% of the health issues that I've found and asked GPT about, they almost always invariably find a study that shows 45 minutes of brisk walking a day fixes the problem as well as any medication. Anxiety, depression, weight loss, cardiovascular health, cholesterol reduction. I like almost nothing I can find. There is not a published peer-reviewed study that says 45 minutes a day of brisk walking improves that particular mental health or physical health issue. So that's
That's
just an aside, extra bonus for you this day.
huh. Oh gosh, we didn't even talk about crop circles.